In color, the continuing story of Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Ryan O'Neill as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington, Patricia Morrow as Rita Harrington, James Douglas as Stephen Cord.
Stephen Cord is a man of action and determination. Due to Dr. Michael Rossi's testimony in the preliminary hearing, he's been given an unexpected advantage. Acting upon it, he's determined to secure this victory by using the young wife of the man he's defending, Sandy Weber.
Hello, Sandy.
Hi, Mr. Cord.
Is Chris around?
Hi, he was supposed to come here for lunch, but he hasn't shown up yet.
Do you have a minute?
I guess so.
I guess you know what I want to talk to you about, don't you?
I've got an idea.
Dr. Rossi made a good showing on the stand, but not for Fowler, for us. Fowler was counting on him pretty heavily.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought Dr. Rossi hated Lee so much.
Well, that's not important now. What is important is that his testimony stuck a pass key right into the lock of Lee's cell. Now, in order to turn it, I need your help.
How can I help?
You haven't even been to visit Lee in jail.
Look, Mr. Cord, I've been busy. Lee left us flat broke, in case you didn't know.
Sandy, it doesn't take much time to pay a visit. Think what it does to Lee.
Yeah, it tears him apart.
Look, I know Lee hasn't been a model husband. But then you haven't exactly been a paragon of virtue yourself.
Meaning what?
Meaning that little vacation from marriage you took last year? When you went to Boston and had yourself a fling?
That's none of your business.
When there's a trial, people make you their business. Now, if this town saw that Lee still commanded the respect and loyalty of his family, it would be a tremendous asset psychologically. Sandy, he needs you badly.
Chris?
Hello, Sandy.
Over here in the corner.
I'm sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
Well, well. Counselor Cord, friend of the underdog, defender of the oppressed. What brings you here? It is you, isn't it?
I had to talk to you and Sandy. To stand behind Lee.
Well, I always stood behind Lee, Counselor, except when he stood behind me and pushed. Sandy, would you do me a favor? I would love a sandwich. Make me something like ham, maybe a little Swiss cheese. And you can put a little mayonnaise on it, but please, no pickles. Oh, and Sandy, would you go heavy on those noisy potato chips?
Sure, Chris.
We're going to pull this thing out of the fire. The hearing's the place to do it. Now, with Lee's reputation, if this thing goes to trial...
With Dr. Rossi's great performance in that courtroom, what's your problem?
We're still on a tightrope, Chris. I need help. Your help.
You know, you never cease to amaze me, Counselor. How do you muster the energy to go hunting for blood all the time? You know, you can smell weakness a mile away, can't you? Like with Rossi. You found his Achilles heel in nothing flat. Well, what is your Achilles heel, Counselor? Why is it so important that you win this one? And I still want to know why you took Lee's case in the first place. Everyone knows you despise him.
You know why I took Lee's case.
Because you think he's innocent? I don't think so. It's not your style. No, the only reason you would want Lee to get off is if you stood to profit by it. And since there's no money in this for you, it's got to be something else. What is it, Counselor? Maybe you're going to pull out on Lee at the last minute and let him go under. Is that your style? Or maybe you just like to get your kicks out of flagellating people on a witness stand.
I'm sorry, Chris. I want your cooperation. But you're going to testify regardless, even if I have to subpoena you.
Oh? How do you think that'll get sympathy for my brother?
Bye, Sandy.
Goodbye. Right. Here you are, Chris. Now, what was all that about?
Oh, nothing, Sandy. We were just playing King of the Mountain. And this time, I won.
He can make you testify. He can send you a subpoena.
Except for one little thing.
Chris.
That's right. It's a subpoena issued by our own Mr. District Attorney, John Fowler. I made myself available. You see, Sandy, I'm through sitting on the fence. A wife can't testify against her husband, but there is no law that says a man can't testify against his brother.
Mr. Carson. Hello, dear.
Well, tired of loafing, eh?
I just thought I'd loaf in a different position for a change.
Dr. Rossi feels it's time Mrs. Carson was ambulatory. I was just going to take her to the solarium. Let her get some sunshine.
Oh, must she go right now?
No, of course not. I'll be back.
Hello, wife.
Hello.
Are you so blasé that when your husband goes on a Fifth Avenue shopping spree, you're not even curious?
Oh, are those for me?
Well, they're not for Nurse Choate.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yes, save the boxes, too, please. What's the matter?
You promised not to hold it against me that I brought you back from New York.
Of course not. What made you say a thing like that?
Well, I do feel like a bit of a fraud.
Because you sent for me when my son was about to be born?
Because I wanted you to be with me when you should have been looking for Allison. And it wasn't as if there were anything complicated or I'd had any trouble or anything.
Connie, don't you understand? My being here when you had Matthew was probably the most wonderful thing that ever happened to me in my whole life. I planned on this. I prayed for this. You know that. I know you do.
But Allison, wasn't that more important?
I think I know what's really troubling you. Yeah. Open that, please.
It's a Valentine.
Uh-huh.
Where in the world?
You remember the drugstore across the street from the old apartment?
My dearest Connie, I know this Valentine is out of season, but Allison would be the last person in the world to think that we were proving our love for her by robbing Matthew of what's rightfully his. He deserves to be loved and protected without regard to what happened in the world before he came along. I have faith that our daughter will be returned to us, Connie. In the meantime, we have a son. Let's not be afraid to make this a season of joy. Love. Elliot. It isn't wrong.
No, it isn't wrong.
Well, I think now I'll open these.
Good. Now, in the green one, I think you'll find
Don't-
one of the slinks.
Don't you dare.
And the pink one, you'll find one of the most exotic...
Now, Elliot, don't tell me.
Hi. Am I interrupting anything? No, I'm just giving my wife a rundown on all the booty she can expect to receive as the mother of my son and heir.
He's spoiling me shamelessly.
Well, why shouldn't he? It isn't every woman in the world that can give birth to the most beautiful child in the history of Western man.
Oh, boy, I'm glad we see eye to eye on that. When can I take them home, Mike?
Well, how about day after tomorrow?
That's great news.
It certainly is.
I'll see you.
Bye.
Mike. I want to ask you something.
Well, it's been a big day of questions for me. What is it, Elliot?
Well, Connie and I would like you to be Matthew's godfather.
Well, that's wonderful.
Well, of course, the title is purely honorary. You understand that, because I plan to live until at least 100. But in case something does happen, well, We both felt that you're the one we'd like to see look after Matthew.
Well, I'd like that very much. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Yes?
Mr. Fowler's here to see you, Mr. Cord.
Send him in, Miss Nolan.
Yes, sir.
Hello, John.
Hello, Stephen. I hope I'm not interrupting.
Hello. Sit down.
Thank you.
What can I do for you?
Well, for openers, you could try to convince Lee Weber to change his plea to guilty, save us all a lot of trouble.
Oh, come on, John. Your whole case is circumstantial. A broken bottle, tire tracks. What do you have, really?
Maybe I'll wait and see what you give me.
Is that why you stopped by?
No, I was hoping you'd tell me when you intend to call your witnesses.
Well, that all depends on when you rest your case. Why'd you come to my office and try to smoke me out like this?
Well, I was up at the Peyton house this afternoon.
What for?
I wanted to talk to Mr. Peyton about your mother's leaving town.
Now, since when does the district attorney's office care if a witness for the defense doesn't show up for a hearing?
Since I became district attorney.
Now, come on, you can do better than that. Are you trying to tell me you're depending upon my witnesses to win your case?
I lay it on the line with you, Stephen. I want to know why your mother doesn't want to testify for you.
My mother's leaving doesn't necessarily mean she doesn't want to testify, John.
No, but Peyton's covering up for her means something.
I don't follow you.
Well, when I was talking with Mr. Peyton this afternoon, your mother came back home. I tried to ask her some questions about why she'd been away, but Mr. Peyton wouldn't let her say 3 words.
Aren't you losing the identity of the defendant? Lee Weber's on trial, not my mother.
Oh, but I know you like to prepare your witnesses. What is it you want your mother to say that's got her and Peyton so terrified of being put under oath in a court of law?
If you want to interrogate me, John, you'll have to have a deposition with you.
Lee's a pretty undependable witness, isn't he? But I think that your mother would go along with you. She should say anything you want her to. Why is she balking?
Well, if that's the way you see it, and you feel it's relevant and admissible, why don't you put me on the stand tomorrow and find out? You're really thinking about it, aren't you?
I just might be.
All right, I'll save you the trouble. Go ahead, fire away.
Oh, come on, Stephen.
Go ahead. You want the answers, ask the questions.
You're really serious, aren't you?
I am.
You think I need the practice?
The judge is right behind you. The gallery's up there.
I only work in the courtroom, Stephen.
John, you're working all the time. Now, you came here for a purpose.
All right. Mr. Cord, when were you first informed of the true relationship between yourself and Ann Howard?
Less than 24 hours before her death.
And who informed you?
Rodney Harrington?
Not your mother?
No, not my mother.
Do you recall your feelings when you learned that Ann Howard was really your sister?
I do.
Would you describe them, please?
I was greatly shocked.
And do you remember your feelings for your mother at that precise moment?
Exactly.
Would you describe them as resentful, antagonistic?
Objection, Counselor. I'm your witness, remember? I believe that's a leading question.
I'll rephrase it if you'll answer it.
You'll get an answer.
What were your feelings for your mother when you learned that Ann Howard was really your sister?
I had an overwhelming feeling of sadness for my mother. All I could think of was the tremendous tension I knew she must have felt for all the years she had to harbor such a lonely secret. Any more questions, Counselor?
Not today. See you tomorrow.
Save me a seat.